In the last video, we looked at a technique of how we could brighten the overall eyes, especially when you're dealing with a subject with deep set eyes and shadows tend to appear over their eyes. Well, if you want to whiten the eyes, the technique is almost the same. Now, certainly there's other ways that you can do this, but this is a quick, easy way to whiten eyes. I will say this, you don't want to over white the eyes. That's something that a lot of retouchers seem to do, and especially new people at retouching photographs seem to leave the eyes almost artificially white. Now, in this example, her eyes aren't that gray, but in many cases, the whites of the eyes will appear gray, which would require you to come in and make an adjustment to make those eyes a little brighter. In this example, we could make the eyes a little bit whiter, and because of that, I'm going to show you this technique. And like I said, it's very similar to the last technique that we looked at. Let's go ahead and duplicate this layer. The keyboard shortcut, of course, is Command-J. It would be Control-J on Windows. And let's apply that layer mask. Remember, hold down the Option key on the Mac, Alt on Windows, and click it to apply the layer mask. What are we applying the layer mask to? Well, we want to control the blending mode, just like we did in the last video. We're going to set this to screen. So if we turn the mask off, which we can do by holding down the Shift key and clicking on the layer mask, you'll see that the image is a lot brighter. So what we want to do, obviously, is hide all of that except where the whites of the eyes appear. So we're going to go ahead and select our brush tool again. B is the keyboard shortcut. In this case, I'm going to leave the opacity set to something a little bit higher, and I'm going to increase the size of the brush, and I am using a softer edge brush. You probably want to zoom in to the subject quite a bit, and what you want to do is paint in white to reveal that blending mode. So you don't have to be super precise here, and the reason for that is you can always come back later and paint in black to fix your mistakes. So I'm going to go ahead and paint in here. And as you do this, you'll probably adjust the size of the brush a couple times. So I'm going to go ahead and reduce the size of it a little bit so I can get closer down here towards the bottom. Same thing down here. You don't want to overlap a lot because you can see it's a little bit brighter right here. In fact, I'll come over to the history panel and just undo that. And I'll stay away from this section. Be a little bit more careful about it. But again, you don't need to be super careful about going over into the skin. Like I said, you can easily correct that after the fact. So that looks okay. I'm just going to use the hand tool and move the image over a little bit, and I'm going to do the same thing. So I'll start down here towards the bottom and move my way up. And I'm just going to go ahead and kind of get this lower section started. Likewise, I'm going to do the same over here, just these tight areas that I'm not going to be able to get with a larger brush. And then I'm going to go ahead and increase the size of the brush quite a bit. So I'm just going to go ahead and lighten this. I think that looks pretty good. And I'm going to increase the size of the brush to speed this up a little bit. So it's not a time-consuming technique. It does take a little bit more care than the last example, but you should be able to do this pretty quickly, and as you get used to it, it really shouldn't take you much time at all. So we've definitely made these eyes brighter. Again, if you want to correct any problems that you've introduced, all you have to do is paint in black, and you can do that by pressing the X key on your keyboard to switch the foreground color, and then as you paint, you'll be hiding that adjustment. Nevertheless, you could spend some time in here and get really detailed, but let's go ahead and zoom out a little bit, and you can see that the eyes are quite a bit brighter. And if you look at it at this magnification level, it looks a little freaky. But this is what you don't want to do. You don't want to leave the image at this state because the eyes are way too bright. So we need to come over here and drop the opacity down. There's not a set number here. Every single image will be a little bit different. So you're going to have to look at this and kind of decide for yourself what the right number is. Many times it's going to be below 50%, I'm going to be honest with you. So I'm going to bring this down to about 25% in this case, 24%. And I think that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and just zoom out a little bit more. We want to see what the overall image looks like. Let's take a look at the before and now the after. So we definitely brighten those eyes up a little bit. So you just want to be careful, and you don't want to over brighten the eyes. Like I said earlier, regardless as to how much light you put on the subject, you're probably going to end up with grayish looking eyes. In this example, you can see we have lights set up in the studio, and we're still getting gray values within the eyes. But this technique can Be something that you can perform quickly and easily, and you can get really good results with it.